Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. If you were to stand before God and try to plead before Him based on your own righteousness alone, how do you think it would go? Now, if we were self-righteous, we might think it would go well, thinking that we could point to all the good things that we have done, all the things God commanded us to do that we did, all the things God commanded us to avoid that we did not do. But all God would have to do to crush us is mention one lie that we told, one lustful glance, one proud thought, just one, and the argument would be over. The wages of sin, every sin is death. That might sound extreme to the atheist and the unbeliever, but that is how grave God views sin. Luckily for us, we aren't going to stand before God if we're faithful, clothed in our own righteousness. We're going to be clothed in God's grace, grace that is received through obedient faith, but grace that forgives all the sins we've committed, leaving behind only that which God delights in. We cannot do that alone, but in humility must submit to the will of God in faith. In Job's response to Bildad in Job 9, Job is going to pick apart Bildad's argument about righteousness and sinfulness while still maintaining that he is righteous. Let's see how he does it. So if you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Job chapter 9. We're going to be reading from verses 1 to 13. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Job chapter 9, beginning at verse 1. Then Job answered and said, "Truly I know it is so, but how can a man be righteous before God? If one wished to contend with him, he could not answer him 1 time out of 1,000. God is wise in heart and mighty in strength. Who has hardened himself against him and prospered? He removes the mountains, and they do not know when he overturns them in his anger. He shakes the earth out of its place, and its pillars tremble. He commands the sun, and it does not rise. He seals off the stars. He alone spreads out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He made the bear, Orion, and the Pleiades, and the chambers of the south. He does great things, past finding out, yes, wonders without number. If he goes by me, I do not see him. If he moves past, I do not perceive him. If he takes away, who can hinder him? Who can say to him, what are you doing? God will not withdraw his anger. The allies of the proud lie prostrate beneath him." Bildad spent chapter 8 being rather blunt with Job. You're suffering because you're an unrepentant sinner. If you were righteous, you wouldn't be suffering. So if you want your suffering to end, simply repent and turn back to God. As we come to chapter 9, Job concedes that certain parts of Bildad's argument are true. He concedes that God can punish the wicked and he can bless the righteous. He turns that argument on its head, though, that God always punishes the wicked physically and blesses the righteous physically by saying, who is really righteous before God? Who can truly claim to be righteous before God? If a man tried to do so, he could not answer God 1 time in 1,000, meaning never. Why? Because God is wise in heart and mighty in strength. Because those who harden their hearts before God never prosper. I'm thinking of Pharaoh and King Saul. Because God can move mountains and can shake the earth. He can command the sun and seal off the stars. He is the creator of all that is in heaven and on earth. He does great things that are past finding out and performs wonders without number. Who is man in comparison to God, and who is man who thinks that he can stand righteous on his own before God? And you know what? Without God's grace, Job is absolutely right. I can be the most charitable person in the world, but all my charity does not outweigh or remove my sin. I can go to church every Sunday. I can pray every day. I can be devout, but if I in faith have not submitted to the will of God, doing things God's way, if I choose to walk in sin and do not seek God's forgiveness, then all those good deeds will count for nothing before God. That's how good, how righteous, and without sin God is. God is perfectly light, and in him is no darkness at all, not even 1 bit. One sin adds more darkness in me than is ever in God. And it is why alone I cannot stand righteous before God. Now, we need to be careful that we don't take Job's argument too far, which is to say that one cannot stand righteous before God. Paul said back in Romans 5, verses 18 and 19, Therefore, as through one man's offense judgment came to all men, resulting in condemnation, even so through one man's righteous act the free gift came to all men, resulting in justification of life. For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so also by one man's obedience many will be made righteous. We can stand righteous before God, but not based on our own merit, but based on God's grace received through obedient faith. Job is not saying that it is impossible to be righteous, for he will claim to be such later in the chapter. Instead, what he is saying is that if suffering occurs only for those who are sinners, then why isn't everyone suffering? Sure, some suffer, but there isn't anyone on this earth who can say that they've never sinned. And yet, do all suffer like Job is suffering? Far from it. Certainly, someone would have sinned worse than Job, and yet Job doesn't see anyone else suffering like he is. And that should have been a clue that the theology of Job's friends had some flaws in it. Yes, Job could be suffering because of sin, but if suffering was always a sign of sin, there would be a lot more suffering on the planet than there was, for all sin and fall short of the glory of God. Job doesn't understand why he is suffering, for he cannot see God, he cannot stand in the way of God, and he really cannot question God, for God, when God speaks, even the proud and the allies of the proud will bow before him. But Job doesn't believe that he is suffering because of his sin. And if that's the case, what can Job do? Who can tell the Almighty that he is wrong and that we are right? Those are sobering words from Job, but his speech is not done. So we invite you back for the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Job chapter 9, verses 14 to 24, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.